everyone, Ann Wyatt here, Vice President of Client Success for Health Fitness. Welcome to the Health Fitness Podcast. Welcome back to the Health Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Ann Wyatt. So workforces are changing fast, and the way people connect with health and well-being is changing right along with it. So in this episode, we're digging into how a persona-based approach can help organizations create a more human-centered experience for their employees. These experiences will help them truly connect with people, and that will lead to stronger engagement, better participation, and best of all, longer lasting impact. So today I'm joined with two return guests, Candace Jones, Health Fitness's Executive Director of Marketing, and Tiffany Jones, Contract Manager for one of our clients with Health Fitness that's located in the Southeast, and they happen to be in the energy industry. So both have joined me before, as I mentioned, and I'm excited to have them back because they bring such unique perspectives to our topic today. Welcome back, Candace and Tiffany.
Thank you.
So I have all the Joneses today. I'm really excited. So we're going to talk a little bit. I want to jump right in and understand this persona-based approach and let our audience understand it more so. So my first question, Tiffany, is really to you. And that is, why is it such a mistake to assume that everyone enters the fitness center with the same mindset?
I think the biggest challenge with that assumption is that you unintentionally miss too many people. So, as you mentioned in your intro, most workplaces are incredibly diverse. And
Yeah.
when the programming is designed only for one type of participant, it just naturally becomes less relevant for everyone else. And when we think about wellness programming and fitness centers, it's a different type of diversity. It's not demographics, it's really the employee's current relationship, specifically with fitness and wellness. So, recognizing that the way that someone carries themselves in the workplace can be totally different from their mindset inside of a fitness center is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's an important insight for sure. So Candace, my next question is for you, and that is really around when you hear the word persona in the realm of fitness and wellness, what does that actually mean beyond age or demographics? Because I think that's where we automatically jump to, but there's so much more, and I think that's what you're going to talk to us a little bit about now.
That's right. So
I'm leading the witness here.
that's right. Yes. So personas help us like look at a population and segment it, right? And so it helps us find common characteristics in groups that we can kind of really get to know what matters to these specific groups. So we're looking at motivations, we're looking at barriers, needs, goals. And so we can group them in those ways. And when we look at it from, our standpoint and what we do every day, we see 6 personas that we talk about. And on one end, it'll be a beginner, right? Somebody that's new to the fitness space. They probably don't see themselves as a gym goer, might be a little bit uncomfortable, uncertain. And then on the other side of that or end of that, you see an athlete. And an athlete, they're a gym goer. They're performance driven. They are a fitness enthusiast and they're knowledgeable. They're not going through the motions. They're coming in to train. And they likely have some competitions that they're going to be in this year. Yeah. And then in the middle, we have an everyday exerciser. And our everyday exerciser is routine. They're super consistent. And it's not about if they're going to work out, it's when they're going to work out. And they've got a plan. And they're fun, right? Because we know they're going to show up in class, or we know they're going to come in that day. I don't need to motivate them they're self-motivated. They're coming in.
They are old reliable. We're going to see
they are old reliable. That's right. But then we have a little bit of a unique roles, right? So we have our health seekers, and those are people that we've kind of noticed they're really up on their metrics, and they care about where they are, whether they're maintaining or whether they're improving them. They're really prevention focused people. And they're motivated differently than the people I've mentioned before. And then we have our social seekers, and these are the friends that are going to show up for the community, and they're going to bring somebody with them. They are somebody that you would probably see, like group fitness classes. You would see if there's a company walk, they're going to be there. And they might be the captain of the rec league because they're just in it for the community and the people.
Yeah.
And then we have this one more because health fitness is actually big into injury prevention, and I don't know if a
Right.
lot of people know that about us, but we have to think about this one, and this is the skilled laborer. So the skilled
Right.
laborer could really be any one of those personas, but we set them aside and we think about them when we're developing programs and services and things like that because of the physicality of their role, right? They have different limitations and
Yeah.
barriers that are in place because of their role, and so we want to make sure that we are building with them in mind too. So those are the friends. Like each of them has distinction, right? They have common
Right.
characteristics amongst each other,
Right.
and they help us just think differently as we approach how we try to engage folks.
Right. When I think about all six of them, I think a commonality in my I'm making a generalization, but I feel like a commonality is they're not struggling because they don't know what healthy behaviors look like. They struggle because the approach doesn't feel relevant, it doesn't feel motivating or even realistic. It just doesn't speak to them, right? So I think when
Yeah.
you build your programming around personas, you're starting to recognize all those things you mentioned: mindset, barriers, motivations, the life stages, right? So bringing all of that into your wellness journey certainly can get you much further, I think. So I think, Candace, I mentioned early on, you helped evolve our approach. So how have we evolved our approach over the years to really move towards that more personalized experience model?
Yeah, and I think there was we've evolved quite a bit, and I think there's a couple reasons for
Hmm.
that, and they kind of come back to engagement at the end of the day. I mean, that's the buzzword. It's the kind of the
Yeah.
ticket everything's looking for, and when we think about our clients or our buyers, I guess, this is an investment, and what
Yeah.
they need from us varies and depending on the size and kind of what their population looks like, but they all want to be spending. I mean, they're paying us to help engage their population in healthy behaviors or to educate and
Yeah.
to connect with people. And so as we think about that, we kind of have to think beyond the usual suspects that are always going to participate, and how do we engage those other people. And so as we started to ask ourselves
Right.
that, um, and we ask ourselves, like, on a regular basis, how do we get better and how do we continue to evolve our products, our services, the processes, and the way we do things? We have to get in tune with their needs. And so
Right.
it's not this like completely novel idea to use personas, right? Marketers use them all the time, product developers use them all the time. But when we kind of just, flip the switch to thinking more about segments of the population rather than the whole population, and like doing this like mass, I'm trying to hit the masses, it just was a shift in thinking for us. And then it just kind of led us to thinking more and more about how this really makes sense.
Hmm.
Getting to know your people and what they care about sure helps you do better at what you're doing.
Right. Well, Tiffany, I'm going to shift back to you because all your practical experience is really going to help me with these next couple of questions I have. And the first one is really, what are some signs that a fitness program was designed without truly understanding its audience? I call this when programs go wrong, right? Like what's happening there?
Sure. I think the clearest sign is really in the participation gaps. So
Mm,
when entire subsets of people aren't participating, to me,
yeah.
that signals a disconnect between the program design and the audience that's being served. So if we think about some of those friends that Candace introduced us to, a highly social environment that offers maybe a really robust group exercise class schedule may
Yep.
work really well for that socially driven participant who thrives on interaction. But at the same time, it can feel less appealing to someone who may prefer independence. They just want to come
Hmm.
in, complete their workout, check that box, and just move on with their day.
Yeah.
And similarly, when you think about things like fitness competitions and challenges, those tend to land really well with the participants who are more performance driven. But
Right.
those same approaches may not always resonate with someone who's more of a beginner. And
Yeah.
so none of these approaches are necessarily wrong. In fact, there is a big portion of the fitness industry that actually finds success in serving these very niche audiences, and they do it
Right.
exceptionally well.
Sure.
Whole ecosystems that are built on that beginner friendly foundational fitness, but a place where a highly competitive athlete will probably never feel challenged. And
Right, right,
likewise, they're on the opposite. There's these performance focused environments that support our athletes extremely well, but someone newer to fitness is probably not even feeling comfortable walking through the door. So, again, it's
right,
not wrong. It's just important to know who is the audience that you're serving and then design accordingly.
right. Well,
And it's
then
probably
think about.
easier to
Go
think
ahead. Sorry, I'm
about
sorry.
that. I'm sorry. I was
No, go ahead, Kevin, Candace.
I was like, it would be easier to think about just like a small niche audience and design to that, but that's not the world we're in. We're in a
Yeah,
corporation where there's lots of different people.
that's right.
So,
So you teed me up perfectly. I should have waited for you. For in corporate wellness specifically, why is this persona driven programming like so critical? Like we can't be the niche for sure, right? Like so what can we be?
Mhm. Well, the challenge in corporate wellness is that we're really not benefiting our clients when we just focus on one of these mindsets. We are
Mhm.
truly challenged and hired specifically to find meaningful ways to serve many personas all at the same time and design programming that intentionally creates a space for all of them.
Right.
And what we're doing with our clients is working either to build or sustain a true culture of health and well being where potentially every single one of those employees could benefit from what on site fitness centers and wellness programs are truly designed to deliver.
Right. So Tiffany, you see what we're delivering every single day. What's one thing you think fitness professionals really underestimate about that human side of the fitness journey?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that most fitness professionals enter this field because we genuinely care about helping people.
Sure.
But sometimes in the fitness space, it is really easy to focus on outcomes that are driven by structure. So, how many
Mhm.
sets, how many reps, what type of progression are we making? And maybe slightly underestimate the emotional experience that's happening alongside the physical one. And that's where recognizing these personas becomes so valuable for us. Our health fitness team gets to know and understand our members in a way that helps us to not just be prescribing exercise, but truly creating support systems and experiences that, like you said, feel relevant and sustainable for each and every one of them.
Right. Candace, I'm going to shift back to you. Talk to me a little bit about how do personas help us remove intimidation in the fitness spaces, really help people feel seen on their fitness journey? How can they do that?
yeah, I think it helps just by if we're doing it right. People should feel like there's a place for you here. You know, there's a lot of times where people are like, I just not going to fit in, or that's just not for me, or
Mhm.
I'm not like those people. And if we do it right, there should be a place, and that's like having to think through the welcome, the invitation, all of those
Yep.
things matter. Those details matter. Not just the programming, right? So the programming is of course important, but it's also like the how do I get them in, or how do I connect with them in the first place to make them feel like there is a place for them. And then they also want to
Right.
see people like them there.
Yeah.
So if we do that right, because we understand what their barriers are and what their motivations are, then we don't have so many people on the outside looking in, and they're feeling seen. They're reducing that psychological risk. Like starting anything new, you're gonna have a little bit of nerves and you're gonna feel challenged, and that's okay. But if it's just like holding you back and being like, I would never, then we haven't done our job well.
So I think this next question is probably for both of you, but I'll probably start with Tiffany and Candace. You chime in whenever you like. But we know that personas can influence workouts, programming, of course. But how can they influence communication style, incentives, coaching, the environment, all the other things that are just as important, honestly?
Mhm. They truly influence just about everything. And
Yeah.
again, the challenge in that is you're trying to design this one space or this one program that meets a wide range of needs. But it requires acknowledging that everybody doesn't want to see their name on the leaderboard. And we love to say, starting your fitness journey. Not everyone is starting their fitness journey. And
True.
everyone isn't specifically trying to lose weight when they walk in a gym, right?
Yeah.
So, all of these different factors and different personas naturally shape how you coach different participants, what type of incentive structures you put in place, and how you just design an environment that feels truly accessible across the different needs. So, again, thinking back to our friends, we want to create a space where the athlete feels challenged, the beginner feels supportive, that everyday exerciser can be consistent while it's still trusted and credible for our health seekers.
It's a
And I
lot
think
of boxes to check.
yeah, and I think, to add on to, like, from a marketing perspective, and it's had to change the way we think about promoting things, and I think the easiest example to think about is, like, personal training, right? So
Mhm.
personal training, you could put together a flyer, a poster, an email, and say, "Hey, we're offering personal training," and I could put 7 bullets as to why that matters to you or why you should care, kind of features and benefits. And
Yeah,
it might not land, right? Because I've tried to do like a
yeah,
catch-all for everybody. But if I took a different approach and I put together a campaign that maybe had one part that's for our athlete and one part that's for a beginner or an everyday exerciser, then I'm talking directly to them and how personal training can be relevant to them. And maybe it's going to get more notice, right? Because it's like, oh, well,
yeah.
I didn't realize, or that would be cool if I could get that from personal training. So it's taking like the generalization out of it. Obviously, it's more work, but it's also just like worthwhile work.
Yeah, no, I love that. All right, so another question that comes to mind really is around the situations where maybe someone has struggled in one environment, but they thrived once the programming really matched who they were. Tiffany, have you seen examples of that?
I have. And
Oh, good.
I would say that this is kind of common in referral situations. So,
Okay.
something that a lot of fitness centers will do, you've probably seen this, is they'll encourage members to by maybe earning an incentive if they refer a friend. And what happens is that member is very likely to bring their friend into the fitness center, but through what I would describe their own lens. So, for
Mhm.
example, if we have one of those more social members, they love the group exercise classes, they do all the wellness challenges, they want to see their name on the participation board, and it's important for them to interact with other members and really feel like a part of our fitness center community. But they bring a friend who accepts the invite, but may be
Yeah.
of a completely different fitness mindset. Let's think about someone who values more of a private, personalized experience, the person that gets really excited by things like regular body composition assessments and someone building them a customized plan that helps align
Mhm.
with the goals that they're looking to achieve. So
Right.
this is important because I think I mentioned in the beginning, fitness personas don't always mirror who people are outside of the gym. It's very
Right.
likely that two people can have a lot in common in everyday life, but they want completely different experiences inside the gym. So, and getting back to your question, yes, I have seen many people struggle simply because they entered via someone else's pathway.
Right.
But something that our on-site team really takes pride in is being able to connect with both new members and existing members all the same. In doing that, we learn a lot and we
Yeah.
leverage what we learn to try to introduce them to, yes, the full range of everything that we offer, but really try to better connect them with an experience that better suits their needs. And typically, when we can match someone up with the resources and the services that fit their persona, that's when we start to see stronger utilization and better retention as well.
Right. Oh, I love that. So, Candace, you always preach to us. I don't know if preach is the best way to put it, but you are a proponent of listening because you want to make sure
Mhm.
that we're out there listening. So, why is that so important before you're building any fitness initiative or some wellness strategy? What's the secret sauce there?
The secret sauce is so simple. It's just like you listen and you learn. It
Yeah.
feels like, way more, it sounds simple, but it's so powerful because we should always be designing from the outside in, right? We
Right.
can't just choose what we want to have them do. We need to find what works for them. And like you
Yeah.
said, Tiffany, like we bring our personal bias in, to a lot of things, and it can be blind spots for us. And so when we become more consumer driven, like we start to flip our thinking, and we start to add value in a different way than we probably were able to before, because we just weren't as like conscious about what it is and all of the things that matter to them, the motivation and the barriers, right? And so I think, in the past, like one thing that as we've talked through this a lot, and Tiffany, you've been a part of developing this too, is learning that we have more athletes at sites than we thought. Like that was one thing that you brought up pretty early, is that you have a lot of athletes at your site. And sometimes we think about those athletes in the past and we were like, hey, they're just going to drop in to get a couple miles and do a couple things. But then we started to listen to like, what are the gaps in their services, and what are the things that we could be doing more of, and things like recovery start to become like, they might still go to those performance places, but like we can play a role in their recovery and make it convenient and be right here. So I think those are just like some insights that you learn that you maybe have like not thought you could play a role in, or that they wouldn't, they wouldn't consider doing inside of a workplace. So yeah, I mean, it's listening, it's learning, it's getting the insight that can then drive like a much better service or experience for someone. So you're not missing those opportunities, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah. All right. So we have people from a lot of walks of life listening to this podcast. I know we have people that are running corporate facilities. We have people out in the community. We have people that are our clients working at the corporations that we manage programs for. What are they going to do with this information? So they understand what the personas are and the 6 different types of groupings we look at. But what can they do with that? So Tiffany, I'll start with you from a perspective of how do you work it in with your program? And then maybe Candace, you give us a little bit of a perspective from how to start fresh, maybe.
Yeah, I think for someone who has an existing program, I would encourage them to take the opportunity to just step back for a moment and review it through a broader lens. So, not just asking who your audience is from a demographic standpoint and making assumptions about those demographics, but really digging into what motivates them, what barriers they're facing, and whether the experiences that you've built truly supports the wide range of needs. And then identify those gaps, and not necessarily with any pressure to do more, but to just be more intentional with what might already exist.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's going to be hard to say something different, because that was really good, Tiffany. And I think that would also be good for a
You took
newbie.
my answer.
Yeah, I think that would be good for somebody new too. But I guess I would add too is just that like resisting that temptation or that urge to be like, I want to do something that hits the mass, and shifting your thinking into like what success looks like. So does success look like I'm going to do a step challenge, and that's going to get X number of people, and I'm like going to feel really good when I hit that number, whatever that number of engagement is?
Mhm.
Um, or can you switch your thinking into, I might do some more smaller targeted programs alongside that, or instead of it, maybe where you're actually like being more relevant, and actually engaging people in the way that they want to. I also understand that like there's this like part that we have to think about, like, do I have enough staff to do that? Like, do I have enough
Yeah.
time? Do I have the resources to be able to offer more? And that's a real balance that you have to take into consideration too. But yeah, I think it's just like that step back into looking into like, how might I do this different, just to challenge your thinking a little bit.
I love it. Well, listen, I think we are just about out of time. And this is usually when I do my quickie quiz, when I ask you all about what your favorite ways to keep yourself healthy are. But because you're repeat guests, I'm going to flip the tables here a little bit. And because theme matters so much, I'm going to ask you, what is your persona? So, how about I start with Candace?
Okay. Well, I would call myself an everyday exerciser. And in the back of
Okay.
my mind, I aspire to be athletes in moments, but it's not there. It's not there.
I love
I'm
it.
steady though. I'm a steady everyday exerciser.
Well, not many people can say that. So, that's pretty impressive. All right. Excellent. How about you, Tiffany?
I think mine has changed a lot over time. I probably started out as an athlete when I was younger, moved into an everyday exerciser, but today Now that I'm in my 40s, I think I've become that eager health seeker. I'm trying to move more intentionally, and what used to work for me when I was younger doesn't do it anymore. So I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, thank you both today for joining me. Incredible insights that you shared. I loved hearing all about it. And thanks to the audience for joining. If you liked what you heard, please hit subscribe. Until next time.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found today's discussion both thought-provoking and enjoyable. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and share this episode with your colleagues and friends. We'd really love for you to stay connected with us. Until next time, take care, stay active, and stay curious.